I'm just going to give you guys a quick overview of what I did to make that last scene. Um, Basically, it's all the work that I've been putting in up to this point in terms of how much of the world that I have at least ready in this one blend file. And then as I'm modeling, I'm coming up with ideas and like working on specific areas and adding smaller and smaller details as I go. And you'll notice like, well, I got a floating billboard over here. Yay. Um, a lot of the areas aren't as detailed. Like there's a lot of stuff around here that I don't have as much detail in because when I start importing these models into Unreal, I build the details into them from within the engine instead of doing it inside of Blender, and it gives us more freedom to make corrections and changes as opposed to exporting everything all at once in one giant file. So basically, the world will be exported. All these parts will go into the engine, and then I build them as assets and place them in the world. And they basically don't move. They're stationary, and you won't see a lot of this stuff repetitively, right? But smaller details like billboards and like vents, lighting, uh, I mean benches and stuff. These are part of the prop library that I've been building as well, and these things will be more consistent throughout the entire world. Like they'll be repetitive, but my job is to make it so you don't notice it. So we'll see how well I could do with that. Um, so yeah, basically I just took a camera in the project that I was working in, and I set it to somewhere where I'm like, this would look pretty cool. And then I just started adding all the little details that I would be inside of Unreal Engine. So I added like the planters, just lighting, which isn't something I normally do inside of the blend file. But the reason I did it here was so that I can generate a pretty picture like you see here. And something that you hadn't seen before in the previous renders are foliage. So I added just some greenery, some plants, and just tried to keep the composition to a relatively consistent with what cyberpunk would look like, but still like it's not like a totally dystopian future. There is plant life. It's not like everything was bombarded by a nuclear holocaust or anything to that effect. Um, but yeah, basically, once I have a camera set up and I start enveloping the scene with a lot of smaller details, I added special materials to certain elements like billboards, and that's where I end up putting in images like this one here, like the Jelly Beasts logo, and you'll see that in, where did it go, here. There's a lot of little tiny details that I put in here that I'm not sure if you guys notice it or not, but I try to put effort into making sure that there's something unique. I guess you can call them Easter eggs, but I just call it fine details. But in the real world that we're developing inside the engine, the goal is to utilize all of this retail, this ad space, this retail for help supporting our partner programs. Of course, Cha-Cha vans will be all over the place, and you'll be able to drive them eventually. And I threw a couple of little Easter eggs in here, like some headphones and a mask sitting on the side of the concrete there. But this is what I envision the end result to look like, at least in the night scene within the engine. So this is not in-game footage. This is more like what I'm aspiring to get the final result to look like in the game. So if I do my job correctly, you'll be able to walk around the metaverse and see this, get this kind of vibe in a lot of areas. So yeah, we had big plans of showing you guys other stuff today, but as I mentioned, we had issues with the technical side of things, so it's gonna leave it kind of short. Manches mentioned that he might have something to share with everyone. If you want to take over.
Yeah, like I show, I've been working on retargeting the Yakuverse character with his IK rig. I can show some of that. Um, wrong screen. Okay. So yeah, essentially what we're doing with the avatars is, if you've heard the saying, "If it ain't broke, don't fix it." We take the Unreal Engine 5 mannequin, which already is set up and rigged and has animations that work really well within Unreal Engine, and we retrofit our character around that skeleton and those animations through this thing called retargeting. So essentially, what I've been doing is posing our avatar, which you can see right here. He's hairless for now until he's brought into the engine, and shoeless. But take him, pose him exactly how the UE5 mannequin is posed, and then you run this right here, which is called retargeting. And there's a whole bunch of animations you can see right here. So they copy the same animation path. So that way we don't have to be creating a bunch of movements and blueprints from scratch because UE5 already has them built in. So we could do that. We can do this idle pose. So with this, you can see like a few things that are messed up about our mannequin here, like his fingers. Definitely not supposed to look like that. So what I have to do um, is go into the retarget pose here, and I usually set this offset to 0 so that they're matched up. I take him, put him in the T pose, take this guy, put him in T pose, and I look for anything that's not matching up, like this pinky right here. So what I do with the pinky, I go into edit mode, and this pinky's fine, so I can just copy the values from the right pinky right here, and then go to the left pinky, which is a little messed up, and then paste those values. Um, well, shoot, hold on. Copy, pinky, paste. Oh, wait, I'm in the wrong. There we go. Um, so yeah, the avatars are coming along really well. Eventually, we'll be able to take your custom Yaku X's and then implement them um, using this avatar system that we have. So I've used a workflow with a couple of different programs to skin the clothes and do all of that stuff. So um, yeah, I'm really excited to be bringing these avatars in.
Yeah, the new retargeting system I noticed was very easy to use. Like the user interface is pretty simple to understand, and basically it's like when you have mocap data from like you can get it anywhere online, or if you get it yourself generated with a Rococo rig, or even if you just pull off animation data from like Mixamo, it's just a matter of like if the bones don't add up, that's a problem. But Unreal has
Yeah,
worked diligently to make it so that you can build an IK rig profile for every type of skeleton, and then provided you can match up the IK using the retargeter. Uh, yeah, it's really cool. The only thing I'm
yeah,
foreseeing there being an issue with is if you have like an avatar with like a tail, or maybe you have an avatar like an octopus that has 8 legs, and like how do you retarget
yeah.
that? I don't think that's quite possible yet, or haven't got to that point.
Yeah, at that point you have to make your own custom rigs, but for all humanoids, this is an incredibly powerful system. As you can see, like those edits I made to the pinky, the hands look super natural now.
Hmm.
Can go. Let's stop this real quick. But yeah, this is what I've been doing. What was funny earlier, the guys in the chat, in our team chat, were saying that he had too much of a feminine walk before in the video that I sent. So now that he's retargeted perfectly to the male mannequin, they can't say anything anymore. That's a pretty manly walk to meet.
Yeah, that looks a lot. That looks a lot different for sure.
But yeah, so now it's just a matter of plugging this retargeter, making a new animation blueprint, and then bringing it into Isoka's blueprint right here, which you can see. This is the old rig, so you can see how his hands are a little messed up, and um, but yeah, this is our guy. I can play real quick. I have to add that animation blueprint, but um, one of my favorite parts about the avatars are the hair physics. You can see it jiggling as he walks. Um,
Yeah, I had a question about that actually. Is it are they the same hair card models that we sent last week, or are they a completely new setup, like an Alembic file?
yeah, it's a completely new Alembic file, which I can show you real quick. Um, what I did was I essentially used those hair cards that you sent me and modeled a particle system in Blender that matched pretty close to those hair cards. And what you can do is, yeah, export the particle system in Blender as an Alembic file, bring it into Unreal Engine, and then use what's called Groom, their new Groom system, which allows you to simulate hair physics. I mean, you have so much control over all this. You can change the root tip scale, basically how thick your hair looks, the width of each of the strands of hair, um, and just like the shadow density,
I'm
the ray
wondering
tracing, all that.
if we're going to be able to code in parameters that are editable by users, like in a character creation lobby or something, right? Like it's just throwing ideas out there. A lot of the games that you play give you the option to change things like the height, the weight, the muscle density, and the hair color, the style, and all that. And usually they're pre-programmed. But with a tool like this, I'm wondering if we can allow that to be editable live and in real time for the players.
Yeah, that would be awesome. I know we'll be able to at least customize hairstyles and colors and stuff, but um, yeah, it's a pretty fun system to play around with, especially the physics, because you can, change the bend, the stretch, the collision.
Hmm.
You can uncheck solve stretch. So like some little things are like the not to be splitting hairs, no pun intended, but have these strands at the top aren't coming to a point. There's like there's some settings in here that you can do that, like the bend dampening might do it. And see, there you go. That makes it look like it's flowing down, but um, yeah, I think you just change like the bend stiffness and whatnot
So
of the
do these
hair.
Alembic files support physics too? Like, are they do they have like a built-in collision system? So if you were to like walk under something like if he was tall and he walks under a short doorway and his hair's sticking up, will it react to the colliders on that mesh?
Um, I don't see why not. Yeah, it just says enable simulation. So maybe it has a Niagara solver. So maybe in this Niagara solver, there's things, yeah, like external forces right here. So you can have it be affected by air velocity, gravity.
Okay,
So yeah, I don't see why there wouldn't be any like
yeah,
collision.
that is awesome. That's super powerful because I mean, like for
Yeah.
most of the city large structures, I plan on using like air vents, like you seen in that last render, and
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure we can put not just Niagara systems, but wind systems in there too, so we can make it look like when you're walking by the the air vents, your hair starts flowing or something like that. Like those little tiny details, right? Like if it's not super
Yeah.
impactful to the performance of the machine, I think it'll go a long way to adding life to the project. Or
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we can even just try if I had a cube here. I need to see his height real quick. Okay. So, oh,
you stopped.
okay, cool. My GPU crashed.
Oh, I was gonna say you stopped streaming, so there must have been an issue there. Yeah, I could see
Yeah.
that.
Um,
If it's got the if it's reactive to wind, um, just imagine driving a bike and you're doing 100, and you're going to have that wind velocity affecting the hair. That's going to go far, man. That's going to look really good if we can make that work.
Yeah, the groom is awesome. I unfortunately couldn't find like a pipeline between the Olympic system and hair cards, but it shouldn't be too much of an issue to remodel the hairs in Blender. The particle system's a lot of fun. I don't know. Have you played with the hair system in Blender?
I have, yeah. It's kind of fun there. I had made a few
Yeah.
attempts at redoing all the hair myself, and I mean, they looked okay, but we had a professional hair artist do it for us for the last
Yeah.
models that came out, and yeah,
So yeah, for the NFTs, like the hair cards will work perfectly and look great. But
mhm.
if we want to simulate like physics and stuff, yeah, we gotta do this way. But it's not too big of a deal.
Cool. What are you thinking about the character integration? Like, we have multiple partners and their collections. Um, I'm just kind of throwing it out there. Like, when we release our first version here, I want to call it the alpha version, not the beta version, but we plan on making it available to holders of those collections, a base version of their character, not like one that's matching the attributes of their NFTs specifically, but like a base model. So if you're
Yeah.
a monkey holder, and you log in to the Yakuverse and you select a monkey avatar, all the monkey avatars are going to look the same, at least for this first alpha version. Is it have you I don't even know how to word this question. Um, yeah, this is live unscripted, everyone, just in case you haven't noticed yet. Um, I've had a few ideas of how to do it, and IMSO Chris has a really good system already in place for his models. But how is it we're going to be able to use a blueprint system to toggle between attributes programmatically instead of having to choose them manually? Have you given that any thought, really?
Um, yeah, I mean, we've had the same conversation with Cha Cha. Like, how will we be able to import your van that's exactly matches your NFT? And yeah, I know Chris has been. Oh no, did I just crash my computer again?
We could still hear
um,
you. It's all good.
yeah, Chris has been working on that, but yeah, there's got to be some sort of like backend communication that reads the metadata file and basically assembles your avatar or your van based on yeah just the metadata file. I don't know. We've talked about like a socket system at least for like the bikes and the vans,
Yeah.
but the way that I was thinking about it is it would sort of construct your character or your van inside of your blueprint, like inside of the blueprint class. You would write some sort of like custom blueprint in there. And yeah, in your pawn system, it would just assemble your character based off of what it reads from the metadata. But um, I'm purely a designer. I know nothing about coding, other than a little bit of C++. But yeah,
Yeah,
that's my initial.
there's a few barriers that I'm sure we're going to encounter relatively soon, especially when we start to integrate the that function, being able to toggle between attributes based on your NFT profile. And
Yeah,
what I'm seeing mostly, at least from the Yaku end, is if you are partnered with a collection, say, like if we all of a sudden had like D gods come in and say, hey, we want to partner with our avatar system, and they have a massive library of different attributes. Yaku has a massive library of different attributes, SMB, and so on and so forth. And basically, with every new collection, we essentially have to have a version of each attribute modeled and
yeah,
textured, and a material built for each one of those attributes. Now, just for our collection alone, we're looking at y- y- an average between 90 and 120 megabytes per avatar. That's just your base model with like a few, like one mask, your hair, one jacket, etc. Right? And some of the attributes out there are like you got full everything. You got a mask, you have eyewear, you have earrings, like a little bit of everything. Those are the ones that are going to be upwards in that 120 to 150 megabytes. The problem I'm seeing arising is if you're to be streaming that in your game, like if you're walking downtown and you see an SMB monkey walking beside you, that means your computer has to have that uh, all of that data stored in it in order for your screen to render
Yeah.
what it looks like. And that's a big problem to solve for a lot of projects right now, is how to make that happen without having your base file be like a fucking terabyte. Like who wants to download a game that takes a terabyte of space just to go play? Like, so that's not something that it's like basically minimum requirement is like no more than like 20 or 30 gigabytes, and figure out a way to turn avatars into like cookies when you're on a web browser. Somehow make that work. We haven't crossed that path yet.
Yeah. I always wondered how Ready Player Me does that. Because you know, in like Portals, you can be a Ready Player Me character and see the other people walking around. I wonder if it, because I mean that just assembles your character and probably stores it on their server somewhere. So I wonder if it's going to be like that, where you almost build your character externally and it stores it on a server somewhere so that it's easy to just import the data rather than having to reconstruct it every time you log in or see somebody.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so for now, at least for the first alpha release coming, we're going to implement a base character. So it's really just one set of attributes or one look. I mean, we might be able to make it so you can change colors, but at least for now, we're going to try to limit the size of the first download to, I think, under 5 gigabytes. Hopefully, under 5 gigabytes. It depends on how
Yeah.
many materials I put in the world. But yeah.
And the plan is also to have that eventually be like pixel streamed via browser, right? Or
Yeah, it's a good question because like I'm not a dev, and I'm just gonna like blatantly admit that I'm pretty dumb when it comes to that stuff. But from what I do understand, pixel streaming is very expensive. Like not just
yeah, it
like
is.
in a monetary capacity, but like in computational power. And you gotta have like massive servers, huge bandwidth, and all that other stuff. But I mean, I could be wrong, but this is just how I understand it. So
Yeah, I
I
did a
don't know.
little bit of research about pixel streaming for the Cha Cha Van demo. Because initially we wanted to host that on a server, and yeah, it was first of all expensive, and second of all like very hard to set up. So
Yeah, ideally, we'd be able to make it so that you can peruse the metaverse on a mobile phone. I mean, notwithstanding the technological capacity of our hardware today, but say a year from now or 2 years from now, as that technology grows, obviously it'll be a little better. But we want to aim for like the minimum requirement of being able to do that at least on like a potato PC, so that there's no question about accessibility for all the demographics out there. But yeah. Anyways, I should check the. If you guys have any questions, if you want to throw them in general chat, I'm just gonna look right now. Not seeing any questions. Looks like everyone's pretty much on par. Yeah, sorry we didn't have very much exciting things to talk about or show you today. Just again, we're experiencing some interesting challenges with integrating the new 5.1 system on our
here
hardware.
somebody just said, "What about PUBG mobile approach?"
That's a yeah, okay. So with PUBG, I mean they have it's basically like a different version of the game, right? It's the same like structure, like how it works, and what the uh, how do you call it, the structure of the game is the same, but like the materials are different. The The geometry they use is different. Uh, it's like having an LOD of 10 on everything. And if you don't know what that is, it's like there's different scalability models. If you're up really close to something inside of a game, your LOD quality is what we would call 0. So maximum quality in like 4K textures, massive amount of geometry. And as you back away, it slowly kind of disintegrates and changes as you back away. With mobile stuff, like I worked on a mobile game a couple of years ago, and a model that I would typically use in Unreal that has like say 20,000 vertices in it, or polygons, sorry, I should say. You're limited to like a small fraction of that. So that same model, if I were to do it inside of a mobile game, would like I'd be limited to like 500 polygons instead of 50,000. You know what I mean? So it's really not just the computational power of the CPU inside the mobile device itself, but it's the ability to store that information as well. All the models have a storage requirement, right? 50,000 polygon model might be, say, 5 or 6 megabytes. And if you're using 5 or 4K textures, even with the packed channels, your material might end up being close to 20 to 50 megabytes. So you add all that up, you're looking at one model, like one building inside of a city, could be anywhere between 50 to 100 megabytes, much like the avatars in our game right now. But if you move that down to mobile, it's not going to take long for you to eat up all that space in memory, and the ability to stream the textures live and in real time during gameplay is limited by the computational capacity of the CPU.
My blueprint broke somehow, but I was gonna show show off the bike hovering.
Oh,
Actually,
alpha. Yeah, so in case you guys haven't noticed already, Manchez is like a wizard when it comes to a lot of stuff, and he's taken over getting the bike ready for us.
here we go. Here's a video of me driving. So yeah, luckily I had the Cha-Cha hover blueprint already set up, so this was very easy to set up. It was just, change out the static mesh, and it keeps the same hover component, which
I
I
don't
think.
think
you-
you're streaming, though.
Yeah, you're not
Oh, wait,
streaming.
what?
Turn on the lights. You can't see. There you go.
There we go. Can you guys see that?
Gotcha. Uh-oh.
I thought I was streaming this whole time.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
What?
Uh-oh.
Wait, what? What is this model?
Uh-oh. we're just playing around. We're just playing around. That's just an experiment. It's nothing.
Yeah, just turn the camera to the other side, pretend we didn't see.
No, it's just an experiment. We were just playing around because Cha-Cha vans float and stuff too, right?
Looks amazing, actually.
We're really excited to be able to actually race. It's going to be pretty fun.
Yeah.
It's really like, okay, so our footprint of the first release is about a 1 kilometer by 500 meters in terms of like how much surface area we plan on being available in like a finished product. We can integrate a little bit of roads into there. It's not necessarily going to be a racetrack, but I'm trying to make it so that you can like actually drive in a continuous loop in some of these areas before you hit a dead end and have to turn around. So that's going to be something that we plan on releasing with this version.
What if the racing space was another like another universe entirely,
Like
where
like
you
another
don't
level?
count? Yeah.
Yeah. Like so. Okay, if
So
we
you
were.
could have infinity, like Infinity Road, that is actually just like another plane.
Oh, I see. Like a procedurally generated infinite runner game kind of thing. So you just drive.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's totally possible. I'm not sure if that's something that we're going to be implementing right away, but it's definitely possible. When it comes to doing like mini games and races and stuff, we're I don't want to speak too heavily on this because I'm not the one to be answering these questions. But the way I'm understanding it is we're going to be using level instancing. So like the open world is one level. That's the open world period. You go anywhere you want, do all the fun stuff. And when it comes into like walking into a building that is hosted by a specific collection, or if you're walking into like an arena to play a first person shooter round or like a paintball or racing, it's going to be a level instance, which means it's not necessarily going to be on the same level as the open world. We're going to try a few techniques to make it look like it's still within the world. So if we do our job right, you won't even notice. But it's going to be managed, at least on the back end, as a level in itself, much like how you just described.
yeah. It works like have you seen Harry Potter? So when they enter a tent, there's like infinite space. It's hard to explain if you haven't seen the movie.
Oh, the movie or the
Yeah,
game?
the invisible blanket that he has.
The Harry Potter movie in the movies when they enter a tent.
Oh yeah.
So so the way that I thought it was gonna work is like, so for example, you enter a building and then the building could be actually like 10 times the area space that is actually around the building.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah. If we're using levels, then yeah, we can totally do that. There's virtually
Hmm.
no limit to how much space we can put in if we're using a new level. But if we have like in the world level, the open city, if we have a building with geometry that is like 20 meters by 20 meters by like 100 meters high, if we walk into that building and it's not a level, you're physically limited. Well, I shouldn't
Yeah,
say
yeah. Because
physically, but
I think, yeah, I get what you say, but I feel like most games implement the level like the way it works is you always feel like when you get inside something, it's much bigger than you expect.
that's what she said.
Yeah, yeah, totally. Um, but I feel like that's really helpful for the racing part because you can actually like host races in different like environments. Where, for example, this is just an idea, but you could have like themed races where you could race in a specific environment that is just actually like a building. You get inside. There's like a, I don't know, like a tube animation, and you go in through this like completely different world. That is just another level, and there you could have like 10 times the area space.
What is your
Uh,
guys' thought on that? Like being able to like blatantly make it so that it's obvious that inside the building is a lot larger than what is visible on the outside. It takes away from the realism, but like we're
mhm.
I'm okay with doing it. I'm just wondering like what is the community's thoughts on that if we take that approach to making levels like that.
I think this could be something that we could throw a poll on and ask around, but I feel like it comes down to execution.
Mm-hmm.
So if everything is nicely tied down together, people will have more a wow factor than this doesn't look real. So if the space is justified, let's say, let's put it that way, then people will like be so wowed about it that they won't think about it. Because if you throw back to like really old games, I'm pretty sure that, for example, on Pokemon, when you enter a building, just fills the whole screen, and like it's obviously not that size when you are outside. And I feel like it starts like years ago, this trend that keeps layering the actual size, like area. So,
It's
but this is just my opinion.
no, that's great. I like that because I mean it's something we consider too. Spatial dimensions in the real world, your brain will naturally like snap to that's fake, that's real, that's questionable. I mean these things just happen, right? We're we're building something that we're trying to represent as accurately to the real world as possible, but we're still open to do whatever the fuck we want. If we want to make a space that's like blatantly larger than what's represented on the outside, we're free to do that. But the only question is really like how once we cross that bridge, there's no going back. It's like we're a game, we're a metaverse. We can do that now. And like you said, I think you nailed it. There's like how do we execute it? If we can execute it right, I think we can sell it off and still make it like an enjoyable experience to everyone, for sure.
Yeah, like everything comes down to the experience you give to the people that use your product. So, if you have like a really like accurate down to like every inch, but the experience is just not there because actual physical area limits what you can do. I feel like people would much rather have you like triple the inside area of a building if that means that you can add more usability. But like because everything is virtual, can basically bend like every rule to make it so that people can actually enjoy it more.
I'm getting some Inception vibes from your speech.
Yeah.
Totally get it.
'Cause yeah, because the because I feel like that's what we seek when we so the whole concept of metaverse comes from the like the inception mix with reality. There's actually I think it's Apple that has launched a new product that aims to replace monitors, and that's one of the things that ties really great with this example, where they want like to implement VR in a way that you put your glasses on and everything is your monitor. So you just use the keyboard and the mouse, and you can look around like everything that you want to see on your monitor is just around you. So you can drag and like do everything that you can do on the computer, but it's like a full immersive experience.
I think that's the kind of technology we've been waiting for since we saw like Iron Man and the Avengers, and you see him working on his in his garage there. Yeah, those kind of concepts have been really driving the industry for sure. The cross between AR and VR, not to get too far off topic today, not that there was one, but the cross between AR and VR, I think is what's going to bridge what we would consider being the ultimate gaming experience, for sure.
And something that I feel like people miss a lot of the times is that they say, but oh, it isn't ready. Like we can't do that yet. But they forget that whatever you can build for a 2D monitor and represent in 3D, the steps that it takes to take that virtual world that you built and apply the same thing to VR, it only takes um, the engine that runs the VR itself, because all the things that you build around the 3D engine will be the same that you're going to apply to the VR engine itself. It's just that someone will build that road the same way that Unreal 5 is like paving the way that you can now just use a library and implement lightings in a way that you never seen before. And I feel like we underestimate too much the progress that's being made like year after year.
I totally
Um,
agree. Like if we don't start like breaking the boundaries, like stretching them to their limits, there's no process of innovation from that point. It's one thing to have an idea and to try to build it into something tangible, like a product that you can integrate into another product or one standalone. But if we're not stretching the bounds of our possibility, our technical abilities, then we're not going to be able to innovate. And I think that pretty much sums up what you were just talking about, going beyond what's commonly
yeah,
referred
pretty
to
much.
as the limits, right? Yeah, I
Yeah.
agree with that. But it's getting on to an hour, and I myself have quite a bit of fun stuff to deal with, trying to hash out this technical issue that I'm working on. So after this, I gotta shut my computers down and start swapping hardware around to see if I can solve this problem and move forward from there. But yeah, if there's any other questions before we close up, I'm gonna close the stream and call it a day.
Thank you, Matt.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
Yeah, I appreciate it, you guys. That was a good little impromptu change of plans. Sorry, it wasn't exactly what we had planned today. And let's all prayer for
I actually
Pappy.
have a
Make sure
question.
he's.
To,
Yeah, go ahead.
I actually have a question to Manches. That is, so you showed us what we were supposed to see, but is that like is the team actually improving the like I forgot how to say the riding of the bikes? Like,
Um, it, I think I'll jump in here real quick. The
Yeah.
the the thing